All right, so now let's take a look at the solo. This is in the key of E, and the first phrase goes like this. And we'll stop there for now. The first note is an open E string. Following this, we'll play another E, this time on the 7th fret of the A string. Now we're going to move downwards, 2 hits on the 5th fret of the A string, 2 hits on the 4th fret, back to the 7th fret, little bluesy phrase on the D string, starting from the 5th fret, 7th fret, strike the 7th fret again, bend up a half step, release the bend, pulling off to the 5th fret, back to 7, down to 7 on the A string. Here's what we've done so far. It can be a little tricky pivoting with your 3rd finger there. Okay, continuing. 2 hits on the 7th fret of the A string, 2 hits on the 5th fret, 2 hits on the 4th fret. Now we're going to strike the 7th fret of the G string 4 times. And that will take us into our next idea. So here's what we've done so far. And here's the next phrase. So we'll start off with a whole step bend from the 7th fret of the G string, and then play 5 to 8 on the B string. Bend up once again a whole step from the 7th fret of the G, this time grabbing 5 on the B. So far we've done this. Once again. Now shift positions. With my middle finger, I'm going to grab 9 on the G string. To the B string now 8. Hammer on and pull off 10, 11, 10, 8. Stay on the B string 10 to 8. Down to the G string 9. 9 on the D string. Then I'm going to grab 9 on the G string, but I'm going to use my first finger here. So here's that phrase. And here's what we've just gone over. Here's the next phrase. So we're going to shift positions. Now we're in 12th position. First 3 notes, 12G, 14D, back to 12 on the G. Now we're going to bend a whole step from 14G, grab 15 on the B string. Now while holding 15 on the B, we can bend up a whole step from 14 on the G. Now strike 15 on the B. And then we have not released the 14th fret of the G string yet, so now we're going to strike it, releasing the bend, pulling off to the 12th fret. Back to 14G. And here's what we've just gone over. Once again. Continuing, we're going to strike 12 on the D and the G string, hammering onto the 14th fret of the D string. Now 14 on the D, strike that once again. 12G, 14D. So far we've done this. Now to the G string, 14, 12. Now we're going to bend a whole step from 14G, grab 15 on the B string. Now we're going to bend up a whole step from the 14th fret of the G string and release the bend. And we can also let the 15th fret of the B string sustain. So here's this whole phrase once again. Here's the next idea. Starting off on the 12th fret of the B string, we'll then play 12 on the high E string 2 times. Now we're going to bend up a whole step from the 15th fret of the B string. We'll do this a total of 3 times before grabbing 12 on the high E. Back to 15 to 12 on the B string. So far we've done this. Now to the G string, 14, 12 on the B, back to 12 on the G. Now we're going to bend a whole step from 14 on the G and then grab 15 on the B. Now we're going to bend a whole step from 14 on the G, this time grabbing 15 on the high E. Now back to 14 on the G, bend up a whole step, release the bend, pull off to the 12th fret. Back to 14 on the G, pivot now, 14 on the D string, and the final 2 notes of this phrase, 12 to 14 on the G string. So that's a lot of numbers. Let's put it in context. Okay, moving on. Here's the next idea. We'll start off with 2 hits from the 14th fret of the D string, 12G, 14D, 14 on the G and the B string, so this is a double stop here. Back to 14D, we've just done this. Now 12, hammer on to 14 on the G string, bend up a whole step, and then grab 15 on the B. Now back to the G string, bend up a whole step from the 14th fret, release the bend, pulling off to the 12th fret. 14G, pivot to 14D. Here's the phrase we've just learned. And this idea ends with this. So this is a whole step bend from the 15th fret of the B string, and then we'll grab 12 on the high E string. 15, 12, B, 14G, 12B, 12G, and the final note here, 14 on the D string. So here's the phrase we've just learned one more time. All right, so here we are at the very recognizable ending of the solo. And here we're going to be using some open strings. We're going to use the open B string and the open E string. So here's the first part of this ending of the solo. So here we're going to start off with the high E string open, and then we'll strike the B and the E string open. Now with those two strings open, I'm going to add 7 on the G followed by 9 on the G. So far we've done this. Now with those two strings open, 7, 7, 6, 7 on the G. 6, slide back to 4, and then 6 2 times on the G string. So here's what we've done so far. Now we'll slide into the 14th fret of the G string, followed by 12 on the B string, 12 on the high E string, and then bend up a whole step from 15B. And here's what the final piece of the solo sounds like. So it's going to be 9, 7, 7, 9 on the G string with the top two strings open. 7, slide back to 6, 7, 7 on the G string. 6, slide back to 4, strike 4 again, and then back to 6. Now shift positions, back into 12th position. While holding 15 on the B, we'll also strike 14 on the G, bend up a whole step on the G string, and then release the bend, and then back upwards once again. And that's how the solo ends. So here's the entire last section of the solo. All right, well, here's the solo now at the medium tempo.